And girl, when I tell you I couldn't hit that block button fast enough, that was it. Game over. I blocked him. Hi, my friend. Welcome to the Bounce Back Black Woman podcast. I'm Dell, and I've overcome some of the most devastating heartbreaks I could ever have imagined. Do you find yourself stuck in sadness after a broken heart, asking God, why me? Well, I'm here to help women just like you heal and build the resilience to overcome life's greatest hurts. If you long for joy and confidence again, this podcast is for you. So grab your headphones and those heartbreaks. Let's talk. Hey there, my friend, and welcome back to Bounce Back Black Woman. Now, today is a heavy one, so I need you to lean in close, because this episode, to tell the truth, it's heavier than most, but I know that it's also necessary, and it's necessary for many of you to learn, to prepare, or even to heal, and it's necessary for me to finally admit, to own, and lay this part of my story to rest. So this is part 2 of the arc that we started in last episode, where I shared about a decision that broke my own heart and the hearts of many who loved me, including my children. So today we're digging deeper, and we're talking about how I ended up there. And by there, I mean ended up marrying a narcissist, and how I missed the warning signs that were right in front of me. Now, first, I want you to listen, because I know the word narcissist gets thrown around a lot these days. And I want to be clear. This isn't about a man who was just selfish or thoughtless, which is different than a true narcissist or someone with narcissistic personality disorder. This is a story, my story, about someone who manipulated, deceived, and ultimately tried to erase me. So let's talk about how to tell the difference and why that difference matters. When I met him, he was handsome, charming, and attentive. He was the kind of man that made you feel like you were the only woman in the room. And at first, no red flags. But honestly, that in itself should have been a red flag. Nobody is perfect. You see, I had just moved into a beautiful new home that I built with my late husband. And I was still grieving. I was vulnerable and trying to figure out what life would look like as a 50-year-old widow who had never lived alone, but was doing so for the first time in my life. And in he swooped with love bombing, dates, attention, texting, daily communication, and this smooth kind of confidence. He was a handsome man, and it felt like love for me. But I later learned it was something else entirely. You see, his apartment lease was ending, and he didn't seem to have many friends. He made it feel normal to move in together, even though I had never lived with a man outside of marriage and questioned that idea. But his convincing caused me to let it happen. And then came the control. He wanted to start changing the furnishings in my home, slowly erasing the little bits and pieces of Leon's presence in my life. He wanted his young adult son, who lived states away, to come and move in with us. And I agreed because I love kids, and you all probably know I value family a lot. But that was hard. We were newly wed and trying to figure out our life moving forward, and he hadn't been an active parent in years. I learned that he was leaning on my expertise and my experience raising children to make up for his shortfalls. Now, to everyone else, he was smooth and likable. But behind closed doors, I started to lose myself. I ignored red flags that I saw because I was afraid of being alone, afraid that I might not be loved again, afraid to admit that I had maybe made a mistake. I was grieving, and I was desperate to feel chosen. But then one day came the moment that changed everything. He convinced me to sell my house, my beautiful, self-designed home that was full of all of the memories of Leon, the memories of losing Leon. And all of this just to shorten his driving commute to work by 15 minutes because his back was hurting him. I lost tens of thousands of dollars in the sale, and I later found out that he had never owned a home on his own before. This was his way of finally becoming a homeowner. As I mentioned in the last episode, there was no real proposal, no engagement, no ring. We just talked about marriage because we needed to be married in order to qualify for a VA loan to get that new house. And so we marched down to the courthouse to get the license. And while we were there, the clerk asked if we wanted to just do it now. And we said yes. I said yes. No ceremony, no family, no photos. And instantly, when it was done, I felt ashamed. And soon after, I started to find inappropriate messages on his phone, old videos of him with other women on his computer that had been accessed in the wee hours of the night. When I brought it up, he denied it. He actually even got angry. And yet, I stayed. He often slept on the couch and blamed my tossing and turning and occasional snoring. And he stayed up late, really late. And later, I found out that he was browsing websites that were designed for married people who were looking for extramarital affairs in those wee hours of the night. But the moment that I knew that he was a narcissist, truly knew, it was after the divorce, when he took the gun that my late husband had left me from the garage. It just disappeared somehow, and he denied taking it. But then after I pressed and pressed, it miraculously reappeared on a trip when he came back to get the last of his belongings. And here's the part I'm really not proud of. After all of that, I still let him be a part of my transition when I moved across the country after surviving my life-threatening battle with COVID-19 in 2020. You see, he had previously moved to the DMV area. And for those of you not familiar, that means the DC, Maryland, Virginia area where I currently reside. And I too decided to move to that area because I had no family left in Texas after my survival. And I, believe it or not, chose to stay with him in his apartment as I was getting settled in that move. And he started trying to reinsert himself into my life. And friend, I almost let that happen. Again, we're keeping it real and raw here. I'm not proud of that. But the moment came when he commented on a social media post of mine. One that I thought was a pretty nice post. And here was the comment. "This was the figure you had when I first met you. Was there some reason that you didn't work harder to keep it when we were married?" And girl, when I tell you I couldn't hit that block button fast enough, that was it. Game over. I blocked him. I blocked him there. I blocked him everywhere. And I've since never heard from him again. So here's the thing that I want to take a moment and talk about. Not every person who hurts you is a narcissist. So let's not get that mixed up. Sometimes people are just immature or selfish or insecure. But narcissism, narcissistic personality disorder is something different. Now, I am a strong, smart, and secure Black woman who is loved and protected by a powerful and faithful God. So I want to be clear with you, my friend. I didn't fall for a narcissist because I was weak. I fell for him because I was wounded. Selfishness says, I want what I want, even if it's inconvenient for you. But narcissism says, I need to control you, manipulate the truth, and make you question your own sanity and reality so that I can stay in control. And the red flags of narcissism, you may want to write these down. Charm that feels too good to be true. Isolation attempts to keep you separated from your friends and family. Denial of all wrongdoings, even when they're faced with actual proof. Making you feel guilty for their bad behavior and choices. Financial control or manipulation. And friend, the problem with that is that when you're grieving, when you're afraid, or even when you're ashamed of being alone, you can convince yourself that any love is better than no love. And I am here to tell you that it's not. It's not, my friend. It's not. The Bible says in Proverbs 19:2, enthusiasm without knowledge is no good. Haste makes mistakes. And if that doesn't apply to this situation, I don't know what does. That is the truth. I was so eager to feel loved again that I moved in haste. I didn't acquire the kind of knowledge about who this man really, really was. And so I ignored what I didn't want to be true. And I rationalized what should have been deal breakers. But here's the beauty of God in this. Even when we rush, even when we choose wrong, He still meets us with His mercy. And Isaiah 30:18 reminds us of this. So the Lord must wait for you to come to Him, so that He can show you His love and compassion. For the Lord is a faithful God. Blessed are those who wait for His help. And so it wasn't that God abandoned me. It was that I wasn't ready to come to Him with my full truth. But when I finally did, broken, hurt, and wiser, that's when the healing began. And the truth is, God can work with that. God will work with that. He doesn't require or need our perfection, just our honesty and our humility. And that's where the healing begins, my friend. So why does this hurt so much? It hurt for me because it felt like love at first. Because I gave up so much of my things, so much of my heart, and so much of myself. It hurt because I let someone else write a chapter that I now have to live with forever. And it hurt because I saw the signs and I stayed anyway. So here's the takeaway and a journal prompt for you. First, the takeaway. You're not stupid, my friend. You're not hopeless. You are not unworthy. You are human, and you deserve the kind of love that doesn't make you ever question your value. And here's the journal prompt. What red flag did I ignore that I now recognize as protection that God was trying to send me? And what truth do I need to stop explaining away? Get a journal and write about those. So I know that this episode was heavy, my friend, but if you're still with me and if you're still listening, I want to thank you for being willing to sit with the uncomfortable stuff, because that's the only way that we grow and the only way that we bounce back. So if this episode hit home for you, I want to invite you into the conversation inside of our Facebook group. It's called Bounce Back Black Woman, and you can search it and join us on Facebook. We don't do shame over there. We do real, and we do healing. And we remind each other that our bounce back is not just possible, it's promised. So until next time, my friend, remember that it's not just me, it's not just you, it's us. And we are bouncing back together. Well, that's it for today, my friend. I really hope this episode inspired, encouraged, or just plain comforted you. If so, please share it with a friend who might be struggling in her own healing journey. And if you take a moment to leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts, you'll help other women find encouragement through their heartbreak. Remember that God is holding your hand along this journey, and guess what? I'm holding the other. Life is short, so bounce back, Black woman.